My name is Jacob, and I am a brand design strategist. And before I start, I at least want to calm my nerves down and everyone else's nerves, because I know you guys are nervous as well. And just stay present. So I want to take a big group breath in and a group breath out, and then we're going to dive in. Ready? Breathe in. And down. Thank you. So my promise today is that by the end of my 20 minutes, and by the time that you get out that door today, I want to teach you something about branding that you may not have known before. And some of those things about branding may have the power to change your life, make a difference in your business. Okay? Raise your hand if you're a business owner. Raise your hand if you work for someone else. Yeah, because real estate, right? I don't think you're necessarily a business owner, but you have your own brand. So did you raise your hand the first time? Raise your hand if you didn't raise your hand in the first 2 rounds. Because there might be someone unemployed, you never know. I'm just trying to group our whole room here. Raise your hand if you have a logo. I see everybody, right? Raise your hand if you have a website. Big crowd. Raise your hand. Now everyone has business cards, right? But raise your hand if you have promotional material that's not a business card. Raise your hand.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Promotional material. So maybe like a brochure, poster. Right?
Tumblr.
We're bringing you along. Raise your hand if you have apparel, either for yourself, for your team, for your customers. Apparel, like clothing.
Swag.
Yeah, like what he's got. Well, swag, yeah, but apparel specifically. I just want to see the room. I want to know where you guys are at. I also want to know swag now. So I want to know who has swag, whether it's something like a specific pencil or a coffee mug. Got it. And those coffee mugs were handmade by my mom. Kill me if I didn't mention it. She's a potter. Yeah, I know you love
I really love that. I do too.
So
to have a customer.
they're good, right?
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you know your purpose and why you exist.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Oh, are you having a...
I want you to take a second and I want you to write that down on a piece of paper. Doesn't have to be deep. Write down your purpose and why you exist. Super simple. Everyone should have something in this room. Jot it down super quick.
You talking about business sense or personal sense?
Both should be intertwined with the same thing. And when you're done, look back up at me, please. Don't think too hard. You're going to hurt yourself. There's no pressure. It's not a test.
Goodness.
It's definitely a test. All right. Wait for one more. This is the deep stuff, so I'm just giving an extra second. I want some of the brave souls now. Maybe share what theirs is. Give me like maybe 1 or 2. Throw it out there. Go ahead, Cynthia.
The purpose my life is for is pioneering new thinking that frees and empowers all people to manifest the miraculous life.
Wow.
Ooh, mine too.
All right, I want one more. Share one more.
I'm her twin, by the way.
To work with others who are in need, support nonprofits, and I'm actually able to do that through my business.
I love it. Is there one more?
I connect business to business, and my goal is really to put a happy face each day.
See, it's more. Sometimes it's more than business. So where I'm kind of getting at here, and I want to ask the hard question now, because the purpose is some of the deep stuff, right? Raise your hand if you have a brand. That's why it's a hard question.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
You
The
define
thing is,
it.
everybody in this room has a brand, even if you don't have a logo, even if you don't have a website. Your brand is something more than all of that. The people that raise their hand that have a brand, raise them back again. I need another brave soul. Share with your thoughts on what the perspective is, what you think of brand is.
That's something that helps people recognize who I am and what I do.
Okay, so it's a little bit of recognition. Can there be someone else? What else you guys
Your
think?
identity.
Your identity,
Mhm.
creativity, what you got?
Differentiation.
What makes you different? Differentiation? Anyone else?
Your brand is everything.
I like it. I'm gonna give one more to Cynthia.
It indicates who attracts themselves to me.
Yep. One more.
Your brand is what you put out there and how others perceive you. It's a perception more than it is. So it's not a physical thing. It is a perception of you and with your coworkers, you with your clients, the people that you interact with. That is your brand. Right? So it's not a logo. That's a logo. Your brand is what you put out into the universe and how people perceive you based on that.
I love that. I'm gonna do one more.
Knowing how they'll benefit from using it.
Okay, so some of the problem-solving abilities and the benefits that you have. So my perspective on a brand is that a brand is something more than a logo, right? More than a website. It's more than a brochure, fancy, cool piece of coffee mug. What it is it's your foundation of how you connect with your audience. It's the gut feeling, kind of like the perception that they have of you. So it sounds something that's super abstract, but at the same time, it's also very tangible. And it's every single thing that helps you tell your story with your business. So it's a combination of all these different meanings that you guys have, and I wanted to just share that so we understand what the assumptions are in the room of what brand is. The brand really is everything. It's as abstract as it can be, it's as tangible as it can be. It's a whole web because you may not need the logo, you may not need the website, but your brand is how you show up because you're also telling the story of your business. And then I want to give you three things in terms of the foundational, fundamental pieces. So these are the three elements that actually make up what the tangible pieces of your brand are. First one is your brand strategy. Brand strategy is the mission, the vision, the purpose, and the values. It's all the things that are at the core. That first piece is brand strategy. The second piece, and you guys know this one, is your visual identity. Your visual identity is the colors, the logos, the font choices, the photography, the mood, the visual identity that makes up the foundation of your brand. Does anyone know what the third one would be? I know I'm redefining how you're thinking about brand. The third one is the verbal identity. We don't always consider verbal identity because we all have to use verbal. But verbal identity is kind of like the copy. It's the words that are put on the website that connect and resonate with your message. It's the emails, it's the tweets, it's the voice and tone of your message. And all three of these are what make up the foundation of your brand. And they all work together, they're different elements. So you have your brand strategy, you have your visual identity, and you have your verbal identity. And all three of those make a complete, cohesive set together, make a complete brand. And everyone has a different brand. You all use them in different ways, but everyone has a different message. So now I kind of want to go through a couple of the strategies that I use for my own clients that help them harness their sweet spots and the things that make them unique. And the first principle, as long as you guys kind of understand this brand thing, I want to all get on the same page so that way we move together and see, how does this work? The first big core strategy that I use with my clients is own your genius. So owning your genius is one main strategy. And at the core of what that strategy is, it's the gut feeling, and it's the feeling and the vibe that you create for your audience. Everyone is a different feeling and a different vibe. Whether you're joyful and you're uplifting, if you're serious and you're calm, you might be fun and weird, you might be passionate and visionary. You all have your own unique feelings that you're trying to accomplish and capture. And this is different than showing up in a tangible deliverable. This is like, hey, who are you and how do you want people to perceive you? So now I want you to take the 2 to 3 things that first pop up in your brain and write those down. The feeling that you want your audience to think of you. Again, not super deep here, But just jot down the first 3 things that make you up. I know you got something, Melissa. And when you're done, look back up at me. No rush.
I want a coffee mug, Jake.
Huh?
Like, I want a coffee mug.
You're gonna get one in. Alright, give 5 more seconds. Jot down that last idea. And if you have 2, if you have 1, that's fine. If you just put in a little bit of thought and the brain power to just be aware of what that looks like. I'd love for a couple of you to share your feelings though. Throw them out. What you got?
Fun, easy, adventurous.
Fun, easy, adventurous. What do you got?
Enthusiastic, helpful, and professional.
Enthusiastic, helpful, and professional. What you got?
Knowledgeable, competent, and friendly.
Knowledgeable, competent, and friendly. Lulu.
Approachable, trustworthy, and professional.
Approachable, trustworthy, and professional. What you got, Sloman?
In order, caring, which goes with the help other people every day motif my company has.
Yep.
Knowledge, you can't sell somebody health insurance if you know what the hell you're talking about. You cannot expect them to put their trust and faith and respect you unless you
Third
have
one.
knowledge. Finally, you may as well discuss it. You're a salesman, personality. Do people find you?
What is that? How do we describe that?
The way you come across.
Comes with weight.
I mean,
What is
I know, for instance, Jake, some people didn't go too much of the lunacy.
Business savvy, right? Maybe something like that, right? So he has caring, knowledgeable, business savvy. I want to share one more, just so you guys can see how everyone is so entirely different.
Open, welcoming, and nurturing.
Open, welcoming, nurturing. Do you guys see how like these are entirely different, right? And there might be a bunch of brands, and you guys might do the same things, but at the same time, the feelings that you're portraying and the vibe that you're trying to capture, it's entirely different. I have a friend, Chris. He lives over in Ireland. Not you, Chris. Different. And his brand's name is Horrible Brands. Horrible Brands. It's a design agency. Here's the catch, though. He's ridding the world of horrible brands. And Horrible Brands is his way to make a bold statement. And it's his way to stand out. And so when we chat, I love chatting with him because I'm always using his brand in the vocabulary. Like, Chris, that was a horrible idea. That's an awful idea. And it gets fun. So on the front land page of his website, right, that homepage, see all these ugly little monsters and these beautiful, crazy drawings and illustrations, all the way down to the email signature, where he's like, have a horrible day. Like, that's how, it's amazing. And so I love it. It's fun. It makes the brand fun. But he's capturing a feeling. So that whole idea is the concept of owning your genius. And each one of you, I'm empowering you to own your own genius.
Like I hate Steven Singer.
That's exactly it. You don't know where that's coming from. I hate Steven Singer, right? I didn't even know who the guy was when I was growing up. I was 7 years old. Like, who is this guy? Learned it, right? Absolutely. So that's concept number 1.
That's sort of like
own your genius.
The website that was websitesthatsuck.com.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
remember that one?
Now you're going right into my second point. And here's my second point. Memorable is better than accurate. Memorable is better than accurate. You're not trying to explain exactly what you do. If you open a burger joint, you're not burgerinc.com, you're not burger this, burger that. What you are is you're trying to plant a stone and a seed in terms of creating an emotional connection with your audience, so that way they truly understand, and you're developing and establishing that. And you're doing it by differentiating yourself, by being memorable, being recognizable. So your brand is that opportunity. It's not the opportunity to explain exactly what you do. It's just to be recognizable. I mean, how many of you know what the company is that is the shape of a fruit? What is that? Right. I don't even need to explain more than the rest of the sentence because it's recognizable. Now, they're one of the most recognizable brands in the entire world. 15 minutes or more or 15 minutes can save you 15 or more on car insurance. Geico. Or if I said, hey, there's a gecko named Martin, you'd think of probably Geico as well.
How do you know his name?
Learn something new every day. Even Starbucks. It's not even necessarily the name, it's the experience, it's the aroma. It's something that's being memorable as you walk through the door, it's capturing in a certain way. You're using the feeling because they're owning their own genius, but they're also doing it in a memorable way. I'll give you a third one. What's the drink that gives you wings?
Red Bull.
Red Bull. And it's a visionary thing. It almost plants in a video or an illustration in your brain. At the core of that concept is they're creating a memorable experience for their brand. I mean, Tostitos tried to patent the sound of a chip, I think, or their crunch. So whether it's a jingle, whether it's a sound, whether it's a name, whether it's a color, whether it's an aroma, your whole goal is to be memorable. It's not necessarily be accurate. Don't hang your hat on that. My third point. Breathe in passion, breathe out purpose. Breathe in passion, breathe out purpose. I believe that you should wear your heart and your purpose on your sleeve. I know that people gravitate towards purpose. What you're doing when you're showing up with your purpose, you're allowing like-minded individuals to also connect with you, whether they're networking, whether they're partners, whether it's a community. But your goal from a brand standpoint, don't hide the things that make you unique and allow you to make a difference. There's 7.8 billion people in this world. There's 33.2 million small businesses just in the US. So you have a whole landscape of different people and they're all entirely different. Use that to your advantage, but tell your story. So show up with your story in your world and allow people the opportunity to join on top of your purpose and your mission as well. So from my standpoint, I've learned that when people show up with their why and their purpose, that's the forefront of their conversations. You actually create a better bond. You create people that gravitate towards you. And if you want to get statistical, there are up to 50%. There are people that would pay up to 50% more for businesses making an impact. So when you show up and you're showing how you're making the world a better place than when you found it to how you're leaving, you actually create more business for yourself. And then you also find the tribe that you attract the right people. So you want to shine to those people as well. And I'll give you an example as well. A couple months ago, I was at an event over in media, and there was an individual named Pedro. He has cerebral palsy. So he's limited with his speech, his physical abilities. Cerebral palsy really takes a toll on your body, and you're not able to, talk in some capacity. Well, the whole event was based on storytelling for a book. So Pedro showed up, and there's a whole community. I'm sitting in the audience, and people are tearing up, and they're smiling. And Pedro has programmed his talker, because he can talk. He has his thoughts, he just can't physically put them out with his mouth. Programmed his talker to the opportunity to be able to share this story. So someone's flipping through the story, and you're hearing the talker share the story, and word by word, you could just hear the whole audience. They were just here for him. But that moment, as much as it meant for us, and it was important, it meant for Pedro. So Pedro had that opportunity only because Game on State, it's an arcade and a candy store in media, which you guys should totally go if you have kids. Because they put their why into their branding. And it allowed a community and a tribe to show up to support Pedro, because Pedro works for them. And their whole mission is about bringing inclusivity to their business, to their business model and their community, and employing people with special needs and different abilities. That's just giving you a sample of how, when a why shows up in your business, it actually allows you to get traction. Sure, it can generate more sales, but it generates opportunity and it generates jobs. Fourth point, one of my favorite, lead with human. It's my fourth point, and I love it. Lead with human. Leading with human is the idea that every single one of us wants to speak directly to our audience, speaking human to our audience. Our audience they're not monsters. They're not statistics. They're not sales. They're not a number when you walk into Wawa and it's like, hey, can I have my hoagie? You're not ordering a steak sandwich. You're talking to a human. So the power of being human and sprinkling in human elements into your process specifically is going to allow you to have a stronger bond and a deeper connection with the people that you're trying to connect with and help and solve their problems. And to give you an example, I work with my clients, or actually I work with all my clients in I do a deep dive session, 2-hour deep dive interview session that unpacks all of the stuff they got going and gets down to the core. So if you were to look at an onion and peel this thing apart and get to the central idea, that's what happens first before any branding is thought of, because I labeled you all the foundational pieces. But in that process of being able to get down to the core, you actually uncover so many different clarifying things. Light bulbs go off. Moments of clarity happen. 5 minutes? Perfect. Moments of clarity happen, and you come to these profound opportunities. And so a client of mine, Sarah Valera, she's a newborn photographer, super, super talented. In that interview, we had the opportunity to sprinkle in human into her own process and her experience. And one decision was, what should she name her brand? She was originally going to do it as, I forget the name, but maybe it might have been Pink Elephant Photography versus Sarah Valera Photography, which is something that already rings supernatural, and Sarah Valera is awesome. So anyway, she ended up using Sarah Valera. The reason why is because she's able to use a personal brand. If you're a newborn, or if you're a mom and you have a newborn, you're in such a zone where you're trying to build trust, and you're not going to give your baby to someone you may not know, but you might give it to Sarah Valera. Second thing is, in that process, Sarah also utilizes clients to send in inquiries in her process. So they send in inquiries, she might send out information. Well, what we wanted to do is add in that extra piece of human. And what it looked like was if someone sends an inquiry, she then sends back information, but she also follows up with a 15 to 20-second video. And that video could be something like, hey, Amanda, I'm so happy you reached out. I just wanted to give you this information. It's in the email. I look forward to working with you, blah, 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 blah. And it's super quick. But what it does is it takes the time of day so people understand and can connect with you as a person. So those are 2 examples of leading with human. I'm on 5, right? Yeah. The last one, actually, the last one, because we're right on the last piece, right? A couple minutes. The last one, and this was inspired by Lucas, who did not show up today, but the idea and the concept is, if you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't use it, you lose it. How many of you eat just the icing on the cake when you show up to these birthday parties? Come on, raise your hand. I used to do it too, I know. But here's the thing. You're eating just some of the good parts of this cake, but you're not eating the best parts. You're not eating the parts, when that happens, that people spend all the time cooking this thing and you just eat the icing, you're missing the best part. It's kind of like having a business and not actually using your brand. You have this superpower, but you actually haven't expressed it, you haven't used it. You are Batman and your brand is Robin. You guys work together. So don't leave Robin off over there. So my idea, and where I'm kind of wrapping my brain around in terms of how you guys show up, is to be able to actually use your brand, use your business in a way that can actually help you. And whether you DIY'd your logo or you got a generic template for your website online, that's totally fine. Just know you might be scratching the surface of how you can actually grow your business. And if you've already been established and you've had this thing and you're like, look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Well, if you haven't had it, it still doesn't work. So you may need to revisit some of these things because it allows you the opportunity to connect with your product more. So if you don't lose it, or if you don't use it, you lose it, is my last idea in terms of being able to actually show up with how you guys can utilize your brand. And to wrap this whole thing up in a bow tie for you. Well, if you weren't paying attention, if you just heard something, at least you now know the gecko's name is Martin. And if you were, and you're allowing perspective to deepen into your minds today, you might have learned that a logo is, or a brand is more than a logo. So don't treat it like one. It's something where if you use all of the elements of your brand and find and leverage all the sweet spots that make you unique, you have the opportunity to position yourself as the go-to authority and the go-to expert, because you can be seen clearly by your ideal audiences. Thank you.